What's good, guys? I know it's been a little bit of a while. Haven't been super active with the videos lately. We're 2 months into the NBA season, and there's been a lot of interesting stuff going on. Everybody's got their MVP ladders, all-star teams. Before we do that, and we will do stuff like that, I do want to make all-star videos. All-star game is coming up a little less than 2 months, so we are more than halfway there. Let's do something else, though. Let's do a way too early all-NBA teams. If the season ended today, where am I placing people? There are games going on while I'm making this video. Let's just take into account this video accurate as of the 20th of December. Let's jump right into it. The All-NBA third team. Listen, as always, it's hard to make these exclusions. No SGA, no LeBron James on my list. Listen, SGA was the guy I really struggled with excluding from this, but as you guys know, with all NBA teams, what's the most important stat? It's your record. How much do you impact your team's ability to win? I'm not looking for stat sheet stuff for players exclusively, although they are great. And some of these guys, of course, going up this list, they're going to have absolutely bonkers numbers, and they're doing everything that it takes to win basketball games. The only guy on my list with a negative record is Anthony Davis, and you can see why he's there. Of course, to go over the format, in each team, 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. I did follow the rules here. I was thinking Anthony Davis over Domantas Sabonis. Obviously, in a month, it's not going to be like that. AD, of course, missing time, at least a month, I believe, with this ankle injury or whatever it is. But just shout out to him for the work he has been putting in, because even though this team is not good, Anthony Davis has returned to form. He's returned to prime Anthony Davis, a version of himself we didn't necessarily think we would ever see, just with his inconsistency to stay on the floor. And of course, we can see that has been the problem again with him. Moving up with forwards, Jaylen Brown and Jimmy Butler. Jaylen Brown has been exceptional, number 2 on this Boston Celtics team, always an underappreciated, overshadowed player who's averaging 26 points per game. And the Celtics, they've been very healthy compared to some of these other teams. I know they've been missing Rob Williams, but they've been able to cover up his absence pretty well. As far as the guards and the wings on this team, they've been very healthy. Jaylen Brown has been awesome, but he doesn't get the benefit of certain guys who have been missing teammates who might be ahead of him on this list in the forward spot. And Jimmy Butler, who he's averaging the least amount of points out of anybody on this list, his impact on winning is paramount. I think you can tell how much somebody knows basketball depending on how they decide to rank Jimmy Butler as a player. If you can go under 2 turnovers a game and be a high usage player, obviously play both ends. He's made clutch plays time after time after time this year. Incredibly valuable to his team. He's pretty much the only reason that the Heat are even relevant right now. Damian Lillard is back. Injury-riddled season last year. He looks like he hasn't lost a step. I put him over SGA just because of what he means to his team and his value. And this is what I'm looking for. Like, the Blazers are a playoff team, and they are relevant solely because of Damian Lillard, despite Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant being big-time players this year. The team is not good when Damian Lillard isn't on the court, and it has shown. And when he has been able to play, he's been phenomenal. He's had some absolutely ridiculous games, clutch performances we expect from him, and deserving of being on an All-NBA team as of right now. And Devin Booker is down in the 3rd team. He's a guy that could have been higher, having some monster performances this year. Honestly, if you look at the guys ahead of him, it's really hard for me to have him down on this 3rd team. He's been playing pretty much the best ball of his career and missing key players on his team. Obviously, Jay Crowder hasn't played all year, but Cam Johnson's been out for a while. CP3 missing a lot of time. It seems like a lot of guys on this Suns team are just out of the lineup, and they're coming in playing with guys that they're not necessarily familiar. And just when he's on the floor, this is a great basketball team. Moving on to the 2nd team, Zion Williamson is probably the weak link on this team, but he has been fantastic. And I only probably say that because last night was a key game against Giannis, and Giannis just absolutely dominated that matchup. Zion doesn't have a great game, but he's been utterly dominant, especially recently, and missing Brandon Ingram for half of the season. Other players in and out of the lineup for the Pelicans, and they remain one of the top teams in the Western Conference, despite not having really played a lot together prior. Obviously, he didn't play at all last year. Nikola Jokic coming on with some monster performances lately. No Michael Porter in the lineup for a while, and that's obviously a key piece for the scoring. He's had to take up more of that scoring load in the absence of MPJ. And don't be fooled by some of these stats early in the year when he wasn't putting up a lot of points. The guy wants to be a passing player. He's not on the court to score a ton of buckets. He's trying to win the game and get his teammates involved. That's the best way to do that. But lately he has had to be more of a scorer, and he's absolutely delivered in that front despite not being really much of a perimeter jump shooter at all. Kevin Durant is a guy who once again is going really underrated in a lot of these MVP talks. His numbers are out of this world. I especially want to call attention to his defensive ability this year, shot blocking, rim protection. He's pretty much a 1 through 5 defensive player, and he's also shooting 57% from the field, 30 points per game. The team is winning, made a huge turnaround, missing Kyrie for a lot of games and Ben Simmons for a lot of games, and he has just been the consistent metronome carrying the load each and every night, point forward, point center, whatever. This guy does it all in the basketball court. He's a guy that I really consider to have higher on this list. But that forward position, as you guys know, when it gets to the top, just the front court in general, it's very crowded. Backcourt here in the second team with Ja Morant and Spida Mitchell. Listen, both these guys have been missing players and putting up monster stats. It's like we want to have the conversation between these guys and Devin Booker, who's having a better season. Certainly a debate. I look at the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. He's missing Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. for a lot of the season. Spida Mitchell, he's missing Darius Garland and Jared Allen for chunks of the year too. And both these guys have done a great job carrying their teams. If I was to change anything, I would probably move Ja down for Devin Booker. If I was to change anything, I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm just saying that's one of those that's really close. Spida Mitchell has been unbelievable. I can't really find a fault in his game, especially his three-point shooting this year has been absolutely bonkers, off the charts. Even for him, a guy that shoots a lot of three-point shots, shooting 43% from the three-point line is ridiculous. And he's got the Cavs in great position in the Eastern Conference. Let's get to this All-NBA first team. If we're ending the season today, it's really hard to dispute this. Like, what are you going to debate on this list? Now, Steph Curry, of course, he's going to be going out for about a month. Warriors are going to be tested in that span, and even as disappointing as the Warriors have been this year, they got a positive record when Steph Curry plays. That says it all about the guy's presence. When he has been in the lineup, this team can win ball games despite being a terrible road team and a team with a terrible bench. Luka Doncic, also, value to his team is paramount because where would they be without him? I watched him play my Chicago Bulls without him one game, and we won by like 40 points, and it wasn't even close at all. It's like he is everything to this team. Numbers are obviously off the charts. Guy needs some help. Team is over 500 with him in the lineup. Despite how ugly this offense can be and how just Luka-centric it is, I don't blame that on him. You look at the other guys that can initiate offense on this team and the role players. You're really going to count on Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell to manufacture baskets for you on the offensive end. I just don't see it. Jason Tatum and Giannis, it's really hard for me to put two guys over Kevin Durant. Giannis is solidified. Jason Tatum has been amazing this year, despite even a couple off games against some of the, teams that might challenge him a little bit, like the Warriors and the Clippers, playing on the road on that West Coast trip. Everybody has a bad game from time to time, but he's obviously been one of the MVP frontrunners. I would have Giannis in front of him, personally, as the Bucks take first place, and Giannis having to play so much of the season without Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday missing a bunch of games. And you see what happens when he plays Zion and the Pelicans last night. That's a big physical team. No answer for Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's currently my MVP frontrunner, probably him or this guy at center, Joel Embiid, who, man, since he's come back from this little injury, with injuries to Harden and Maxey, despite that, he's carried the load, and he's putting up video game numbers every single night. Scoring rate has been absolutely ridiculous. He's an unstoppable force. He's doing what he did last year and the year before, except to an even greater degree. Nikola Jokic makes it almost impossible to put anybody over him at center position, but Joel Embiid is undeniable. He is the best big man in the league outside of Giannis right now. Now, all time, now who you want in the playoff series, whatever, different conversation, who's having the better season so far. You just look at that defensive end, and I think you're going to have your answer, plus a guy giving you 33 points per game with a really depleted supporting cast, in a lot of cases, key players missing games and such. These are my All-NBA teams so far. It's way too early to be making this list. Obviously, certain guys like Steph Curry are going to fall down with injury, but just wanted to give a shout out to those guys, just to give them props rather than playing. But at this point, I think it is pretty solid. Let me know what your guys' lists look like. This is what I got, and that's going to do it. Peace.